Peace, Jaguars. This is Left Side of the Brain with another red light edition. Special red light edition because this time you can see the red light edition with the light. I didn't mean to turn the camera light on, but this is kind of cool. And as you see my window, you see the two candles I have in my window. Those are two white candles I have, and I leave them in my window for reasons I will leave undisclosed. That's for you to figure out, because left side of the brain, I don't tell you everything I do. But anyway, tonight I want to talk about time. That's right, time. T-I-M-E. And what time means and what it doesn't mean as it relates to the human being. That rhymed. I didn't mean to rhyme on purpose. Do me a favor, go ahead and hit the likes button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And I just want to say I appreciate all of you Jaguars. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't do this channel. So I just want to thank each and every one of you for all of your comments, because you people really encourage me, and I know you get encouraged by what I say, so we are a team. Now, without further ado, let's talk about it. I was thinking, right? And I was looking out my window that overlooks my balcony, right? And I was just looking at the grass, I was looking at the trees, I was looking at the sky. It was a beautiful day. And I was just saying to myself, I was like, you know what? Everything is timeless. And I said to myself, what actually brought the thought to fruition anyway, I was listening to some music at the same time while I was looking over the balcony. And the music was from the 90s. So it was a nice song I was listening to, and I was saying to myself, I was like, you know what? In the 90s, they had some nice music. And as soon as I said that, I thought about something. I said, you know what? The 90s is still here in 2019. And then I said to myself, I said, even though that song was recorded in the 90s, the only reason why I'm saying that song was from the 90s because of the song and the way that it sounded. But let me keep explaining, because it don't make sense if I just left it at that. You won't understand what I mean. So let me keep explaining. So I heard the music, right? And I was like, when that song came out, it was 1990, somewhere in the 90s, only because of, number one, the illusion of difference. But I'm not going to go there because that would lose a lot of people who haven't even seen the video about the illusion of difference or even know what I'm talking about. So, but anyway, I said to myself, the only reason why it seems like, you know, it's like, for instance, 2019, or the only reason why I'm saying that song came out in the 90s is because you thinking about how it looked in the 90s. While you listening to the music, you reminiscing about the programs that was on TV, the style of clothes that people wore. And then it dawned on me, I said, you know what? That shouldn't dictate time. Because when you think about time and different like historical periods, you only saying it's a certain time because of the clothes that people wear, the style of architecture of the buildings. You get what I'm saying? Like how people, like the hairstyles that people wear, the type of shoes that people wear. So it's almost like if you go to like an old Civil War reenactment, they bring the Civil War to 2019 just by dressing a certain kind of way and reenacting reenacting the 19th century in 2019. You get what I'm saying? To make it appear as if it was the Civil War taking place in 2019. So when you're looking at it, your mind is in a fantasy world. You lose sense of time based upon the clothes that you see the actors wearing who are reenacting the Civil War battle in front of you. How many of you have went to a like Civil War reenactment, or like an old West reenactment where they have like a reenactment of gun battles in the middle of the street in front of the saloon, or they may reenact a bank robbery and you just sitting and you watching it. And then, so I said to myself, I'm listening to this 90s music while I'm overlooking the balcony, but I said to myself, the 90s is now. Any time period is now, because the only reason why we say it's a certain time, it's because of people that's in the world with you. Now, this is where I'm about to drop the bomb. You'll understand. Here's the kicker. Imagine if you snap your fingers. You don't even have to imagine snapping your fingers. You snap your fingers, everybody disappears. Then what time is it? You get what I'm saying? Like if everybody just vanished and it's just you in this world by yourself, minus all of the technology that's ever been created, minus the internet, minus everything that you utilize, which makes you think it's a certain time period. You get what I'm saying? Because those things make you think that time has moved forward, because you can go to the museum and see what type of typewriters people were using in 1902. And then you see a timeline of how technology changed. And that gives the illusion that time is moving forward and pushing forward. Because such and such is dead and no longer here, that means it's not somewhere in the 1700s because George Washington is dead. As if George Washington being alive determines that it's a certain year. So imagine, like I did when I was overlooking the balcony, I imagined that it was just me in this world by myself, absent of everything like televisions, radios, internet, all of that, airplanes, remote control cars. If there was no technology, guess what? Then it would be the Stone Age all over again. It'll be the Stone Age. So really, when I put it all together, time is only a illusionary string of events that makes it appear as if things have changed. But on the surface, meaning the ground, the trees, the mountains, nothing has changed. Think about it. On the surface, nothing has changed. The sun is still the same. We say we keep time, like in the ancient times, they used to keep time based upon like a sundial. Because like early in the morning, you cast a real long shadow. You put a stick in the ground early in the morning, the stick will cast a real long shadow. And around 3 o'clock, you'll see so each hour as time increases to like noon, all the way up to 3 o'clock, you'll see the shadow getting shorter. And then as it starts getting nighttime, the shadow will get longer until it disappears. That's how they used to keep time, with a sundial. So I thought about it. I said, the world is really the same time it's always been. That's why you can go to the Amazon, and you'll see people and they living like their ancestors lived 10,000 years ago. Because and what that shows you is they are living like in a parallel universe on this timetable. Right next to technology advancing, you have a parallel universe, like people in the Amazon forest living like their ancestors lived 10,000 years ago. And in certain parts of the world, you have animals living like their ancestors lived 1,000,000 years ago. You see? So really, time is only relevant to the illusion of difference. Now, what that means is the illusion of difference. I wrote down the definition in my notepad, but I'm gonna have to go off the top of my mind because this is a fresh definition. The illusion of difference is basically basically it's the illusion of difference and the law of difference. I wrote down in my notepad, I have about 5 different laws that governs the human prison bar system that keeps us under this illusion. And I'm going to do a video exposing all of that. But anyway, the illusion of difference basically means things changing or appearing like they are unique to deceive the observer into thinking that his situation is different, but in reality, his situation is the same. So basically, that's what I'm saying about time. Like, perfect example. Thank you, Spirit. When a person is in a coma and when they wake up from the coma, it feels like to them that time hasn't even passed. Reason why that is, because they are not being influenced by the world changing from the 80s to the 90s, the scenery changing, the television shows changing, the style of clothes changing. So they wake up from being in a coma in 10 years, and the world to them is like how they left it before they went into the coma. Just like people who go into prison. They come out of the prison trapped in the year that they went into prison, because they are not being affected by the outer world, because they are inside of this, that prison world, which is basically a parallel universe within this universe. Because when we talk about parallel universes, we're talking about basically time travel. Like, you can have this century parallel to another century, parallel to another century. Well, it dawned upon me that you have parallel universes within this world. It don't have to be something metaphysical. You can see it like in this world. Like the examples I gave, like somebody waking up from a coma or somebody going into prison and then coming out 20 years later and they still using the same slang on the streets that people was using in the 1970s. And then they feel lost because the world around them changed, because in their mind, they still stuck in the 70s. See, it's not the time on the clock, the tick tock, that makes them feel lost, because time on the clock doesn't change. You can have a clock sitting on a wall and it can tick and tock for 100 years and it doesn't change. It's just a constant tick tock, big hand, little hand, big hand, little hand, second hand, big hand, little hand, second hand. It's going to tick tock. So it's not the time don't mean anything. That's the point I'm really trying to drive home. It's not the time. The time is an illusion. It's the occurrence of events that's taking place. The illusion of difference that's making you think one decade is different from the other decade. You're falling victim to the illusion based upon what type of clothes people wearing. This person was alive, but this person died, so he's no longer here. So that means this can't be 1984 because such and such died in 1984. So that means the year moved forward. You see what I'm saying? But in reality, it is no such thing as a year. Because if everything goes back to darkness, it's no time you can put on that. You see, darkness is the backdrop of everything in the universe. It's like hanging a picture on a wall, right? The picture is on the wall, but the wall is the backdrop of the picture. You don't put a date. When you go to the art gallery, you don't put a date on the wall behind the picture that's hanging on the wall. So you don't date the universe based upon the earth and people on the earth and what they going through. You get what I'm saying? You date it based upon the backdrop of everything. And that is the universe itself, which is timeless. It needs no time. You know, time is dictated by worry. You're worrying about something, so therefore you're giving time a meaning. You see what I'm saying? So that's the illusion of difference manifesting itself within time. Now I'm gonna go over this illusion of difference thing again in more depth and in more details. So I'm just putting it out there. This is one of your, I guess this is more information to include in our catalog of information that we have on this channel. This channel is a secret thing. All the terminology we have, this is just for Jaguars only. So we have other laws that's coming out, but right now I'm just kind of introducing the illusion of difference. And everything I do on this channel is strategy. I've talked about the illusion of difference before, but I want you to get used to that terminology now. The illusion of difference before we move on to the next law and so forth and so forth. So time is just, it's an illusion, man. So don't get caught up in this illusion of time, because another thing about time is set in place to control you. You see, they set up these time markers to make the slave feel motivated. You see, they take your freedom away from you, and then they say to you, then they place you in a rat race where you have to compete, where you're competing with other people based upon who gets there first. And that creates what? That creates competition, that creates fighting, that creates, don't waste my time, you wasting my time. That creates all of that division, you see? You can't have division unless you have numbers in place, you see? So the number system, like I've said before, it's a part of the prison system. That's why they call it numb bars, like a prison, numb bars. Because numbers are the only purpose for numbers is in a situation where evil exists. In a world of true freedom where no evil exists, you don't need numbers. You see, where there is an abundance of everything, and there is no worry about ever running out of anything, and there is no worry about having to keep up with anything or having to replace anything because you have a abundance of everything, that means there is no need to count anything. Counting, the purpose for counting in the first place is because evil exists. Because somebody wanted to take something. Because somebody stole something, and the person, because of stealing, people had to count to see how much they had, the quantity. Like, I got 6 apples. I realized that now I have 5 apples because somebody took one of my apples. That only can exist in a world where evil exists, because somebody feels they have to take something from you. But why do you have to take something in a world of abundance? That's because they created money to control people, to make it seem like you have to do it this way. You got to punch the clock. You got to be here at this specific time. Time is set in place to set up markers to keep people in line. We need them here at 8 o'clock. We need 10 people here. We need 10 people here at 8 o'clock. We need 15 people here at 8:30. And make sure you count as 15 there at 8:30. Sir, we're missing 2 people. Now it's only 13. 2 prisoners escaped. Okay, we got to do another prison head count at 6 a.m. in the morning. We got 600 inmates. So security guards, make sure that it's 600 inmates in the yard at 6 a.m. So we have to do a head count to make sure that nobody escaped. You get what I'm saying? I just did a scenario for why numbers exist, because they need numbers to control you. You get what I'm saying? That's the only reason why you need numbers. You don't need numbers for any other reason. It's an infinite number of apples that grows on the tree. Don't believe their lies. The universe cannot run out of anything. The same amount of water that was on this earth since the beginning of time is the same amount of water that's still on this earth. Not one water drop has escaped this earth since the beginning of time. Not one grain of sand has escaped this earth since the beginning of time. Don't let them lie to you. There's no shortage of anything. They create these shortages with numbers. They create these shortages with time distortion. What creates time distortion? The illusion of difference. Making things appear different based upon the surroundings of your situation. But everything is the same. That's what I'm saying. Like, Everything is the same. And you're probably saying, well, what in the hell does this have to do with anything? It has a lot to do with everything, because the more you can figure this stuff out, the less games they can play on you. The more you can figure things out, that means you are one step ahead of them. You see, the only difference between the evil people who run this world and us is that us, United Souls, we know the same thing that they know. But what they do, how they control us, is through using what they know and reversing it and using it against us. Like, they know the truth, but you know how they say the truth shall set you free? Because it does. What they do, they give us untruth. Because if the truth shall set you free, then untruths shall keep you in bondage. That's how the people who run this world, that's how they control everything. They just flip everything. Like turning water into ice, or taking elements and manipulating it. Just basically using alchemy, taking things and using it for either to build or to destroy. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it all boils down to, man. I just wanted to do that, drop this little red light edition. Nothing too heavy, just something light, just to prep your mind for the upcoming video I have. I'm gonna go through all of these laws that govern the human prison bar system. The law of difference, or the illusion of difference. Some more laws I have written down, but I'll go over that for you. And hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna end this video now. This is Left Side of the Brain. Just had to do this little red light edition. Yeah, add us on Instagram. Share the message. Bring other people aboard. And let's continue to grow. And we're almost at that 2,000 mark on the channel, which is good. The channel was relaunched in April, so that's pretty good. They tried to stop us, but we still here. You know what I'm saying? We still standing. Jaguars up. Peace out. This is Left Side of the Brain signing out.